Let's talk about IBS or irritable bowel syndrome, hypnosis, and mind body unity. This is Jurgen Rasmussen, by the way. Welcome to the provocative hypnosis vlog. So, just a few days ago, I had a conversation with a IBS client who, for a while now, has been symptom free. She used to have very severe symptoms. And I've had a few cases like that throughout the years, and I've found that IBS or irritable bowel syndrome is more often than not a very thankful subject to work with. So, and I noticed that I never made a video about it, so I thought that I would cover this a little bit. So, notice, by the way, that I don't say the mind body connection because the mind body connection kind of presupposes that you have the mind and you have the body and they're kind of separate in a sense. Mind body unity, I think, is better because it kind of presupposes that these are one integrated system. So it's not that weird if you can contemplate that what we call mind and body is one integrated system where everything seems to interact with everything else, then it's not that strange that you could work with what's called IBS from a kind of psychological, emotional perspective and have, in quotation, real physiological changes. Not that weird at all. Of course, for many people, they still have a model of the world where there's a mind body split, where they've learned to see anything psychological as kind of imagined and anything physical as kind of real, and that these two are distinct, so that we have physical issues and psychological issues as if they are completely distinct and independent from each other. But think about this, a lot of kids, for example, have stomach aches before they go to school in the morning. And for the vast majority of these, the pain is real. They actually do have stomach pain. But for the vast majority of these kids, there's probably nothing wrong with the stomach per se, but they're anxietizing and they're experiencing that as what we call physical pain. And this is a capacity that we human beings have. Now, when I talk about mind body unity and approaching something that's defined as physical from a kind of psychological vantage point, there are some health issues that are way easier to work with and more thankful symptoms to play with than others. So, for example, I have, for the 27 years that I've explored mind body stuff, I've yet to hear about anyone having a remission from diabetes type 1. Might that person exist? Sure. Might it be possible? Sure. I just haven't seen it. I just haven't heard about it. I don't know about any cases where someone has approached diabetes type 1 and helped someone explore the nature of their subjective experience and had a remission from diabetes type 1, for example. I've never seen that. I've seen it for breast cancer and fibromyalgia and arthritis and other things, allergies where people might not suspect such a link. Now, there are certain symptoms that seem to be easier to work with from a kind of psychological vantage point, and IBS seems to be one of the top ones. And you can relate this to if you've ever been an athlete or competed in sports. People might get constipated or they might get diarrhea or they might, they might get an upset stomach as a result of the stress. So it's quite easy for a lot of people to see that, yeah, what's going on psychologically might affect, you know, my stomach. Other issues that are very thankful to work with are chronic pain in most of its form. People who come in with chronic back pain or chronic neck pain, shoulder pain, fibromyalgia is often good to work with, migraine headaches, people with allergies, multiple allergies. Um, these are, in my experience, the most rewarding topics to work with on a group level. Um, Meaning that if you work with IBS, allergies, or chronic pain, this will most likely be the areas where you get the most bang for the buck with the most amount of people. So, as I said earlier, I've seen people have remissions from cancer, but that's extremely, extremely rare. I've seen it a couple of times, but I've worked with a lot of people where nothing has happened at all. But if you put it on the flip side, I've seen more people with IBS symptoms where they have either resolved or at least dramatically diminished than I've seen people where we have done solid psychological work and nothing has happened at all. Of course, there might be other factors too, for example, such as nutrition, that in some cases with some people might do more than psychological work. I should also say that there's a wonderful woman in the UK called Helen Bremner, who's done some scientific research with some very impressive work, showed in replicated studies some awesome results using hypnosis with IBS, and gotten that into the British national health system. So just thought I would mention that. What I've found to be very useful with these people is to just help them to realize that people can have upset stomach, have all sorts of symptoms in the stomach without something needing to be medically wrong, and helping them to kind of see the link between their psychological and emotional states, their inner life, and what's going on in the stomach. So, helping people to explore that link and to see the link and to see the patterns, and learning to either see the illusory nature behind their suffering or to develop more cognitive flexibility in the contexts where their stomach seems to act up is very useful. Quite often, there's a lot to do in helping people to deal with overwhelm, helping people to practice more self-compassion, to be kinder and nicer to themselves, essentially, to help people to get better boundaries and to take responsibility for the expectations that they put on other people, and to adjust their expectations when their expectations are not a good functional fit for that particular person. These are usually, and also anything that has to do with perfectionism and anxiety, helping people to either kind of distance themselves from their thoughts or to challenge their masturbatory demands about having to succeed or having to be in control or needing to perform, needing guarantees, needing to be approved of, to help people to see that they are making such demands and that these demands are thoughts and that they don't have to buy into them and take them seriously, can have a dramatic physiological um, effect on them. And also, as I said previously, self-compassion, which seems to be a big part of this as well. So if you have these sorts of symptoms and you would like to go down the psychological routes and see what might be possible to do, know that I do this type of work and I have quite a bit of experience in doing so, and you can contact me at provocativehypnosis.com and we can have a conversation and see if we're a good fit, see if it makes sense to continue. Um, Also, if you're curious to learn about the psychological illusion model, know that I have a new online training coming up. It's February the 15th and 16th, 2025. It's a 2 day psychological illusion model online training where you also will get access to 15 hours of me doing actual live client work with one person who has cancer of the vocal cords, one person who had been diagnosed with lupus, fibromyalgia, and arthritis, a third client with money fears, panic attacks, and insomnia, and a final one with anger issues who used to hit her own child. So you'll see multiple sessions with each client and then follow up interviews over time. So if you're curious about working with me, you can reach me again at provocativehypnosis.com. If you're curious about the seminar, I invite you to go to ayetherandalchemy.net. I'll put links to both websites down below. As always, thanks for listening.